A lot of people walk around thinking they're not capable enough. They think other people have something they don't: more talent, more confidence, more discipline, more intelligence, more luck. And because of that, they spend years treating themselves like someone who can only do certain things. They lower expectations, they avoid challenges, they stay in places that feel safe. They tell themselves they're just being realistic. The strange thing is that most people never actually test their limits. They assume them, they think about it. How many things have you convinced yourself you couldn't do without ever seriously trying? How many goals have you looked at and immediately decided they were for other people? How many times have you seen someone succeed and thought, yeah, but they could do it, I couldn't? That thought shows up everywhere. Someone starts a business, someone gets in shape, someone learns a new skill, someone changes their life. And instead of seeing proof that something is possible, people see proof that someone else is special. The truth is that humans are terrible at judging their own potential. We make guesses based on our current situation. If someone feels difficult right now, we assume it will always be difficult. If we are bad at something today, we assume we will always be bad at it. If we fail once, we assume that says something permanent about us. But life does not work that way. Think about things you can do now that would have seemed difficult years ago. Maybe driving, maybe talking to strangers, maybe using certain technology, maybe handling problems that used to overwhelm you. At one point, those things probably felt impossible or close to it. Now they're normal. The difference is not that you became a completely different person, but that you learned, you adapted, you got experience, you improved without even noticing it. You made progress. That process happens more often than people realize. A lot of capability comes from repetition. Not magic, not destiny, not being born different, just repetition. You do something enough times and your brain starts treating it differently. What once felt stressful starts feeling manageable. What once felt impossible starts feeling ordinary. The problem is that most people judge themselves before that process has a chance to happen. They try something for 1 week, maybe a month, sometimes a day. Then they decide they're not built for it. Rome wasn't built in a day. Imagine if every skill in your life was judged that way. Imagine if you could quit walking after falling down on a few times as a kid. Imagine if you stopped learning a language because speaking was difficult at first. Imagine if you decided you weren't smart enough to read because reading took effort. It sounds ridiculous, but adults do the same thing all the time. The only difference is that the challenges are bigger. One thing that holds people back is that they confuse discomfort with inability. Just because something feels uncomfortable does not mean you can't do it. Public speaking feels uncomfortable for a lot of people. Exercise feels uncomfortable. Learning feels uncomfortable. Starting something new feels uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable does not automatically mean you are incapable. Sometimes it means you are growing. Sometimes it means you are entering territory your brain has not explored much before at all. Another thing people underestimate is how much they can adapt when they have no choice. Life has a way of showing people strengths they did not know they had. A difficult situation happens, a challenge appears, a responsibility lands right on them, and suddenly they handle things they never thought they could handle. Not because they somehow became stronger overnight or because of luck, but because they were always capable of more than they believed. The situation simply forced them to find out. You can see this throughout history. You can see it in families. You can see it in ordinary people every day. People survive hardships they never expected. They learn skills they never planned to learn. They recover from failures they thought would destroy them completely. They carry burdens they once thought were impossible. Most people are stronger than they think. They just don't get evidence until life demands for it. There is also a problem with comparison. People compare their beginning to someone else's middle or someone else's end. They see a person who has years of experience and assume they started like that. They see confidence and forget the awkward stages. They see success and forget the failures. They see a chiseled out muscular body and they think it's genetics that is preventing them from reaching that. Every expert was once a beginner. Every skilled person was once terrible. Every confident person was once unsure and insecure. The version of them you see today is not the version that started. When people forget that, they end up setting impossible standards for themselves. They expect immediate results, immediate confidence, immediate success. Then they get discouraged when reality doesn't match. But capability often grows quietly. You don't always notice it happening. You don't wake up one day feeling like a completely different person. You slowly become someone who can handle things that used to scare you. You slowly gain knowledge, you slowly build confidence, you slowly solve bigger problems. And one day you look back and realize you are doing things that once seemed out of reach. A lot of growth looks boring while it is happening. That's why people miss it. They expect some dramatic transformation. Usually it is much smaller than that. One step, one lesson, one improvement, one challenge at a time, one day by one day. Then, years later, those small improvements have completely changed who they are. Another reason people underestimate themselves is because they spend more time looking at weaknesses than strengths. Everyone knows where they struggle. Everyone knows where they fall short. Everyone remembers mistakes. But people often ignore evidence that they are capable. They ignore the problems they already solved, the obstacles they already overcame, the difficult days they already survived. They treat those things as normal, when in reality those things are proof. Proof that they can learn, proof that they can adapt, proof that they can keep moving forward. Capability is not about being perfect. It is about being able to improve, being able to figure things out, being able to keep going when things get difficult. Most people already do that every day without realizing it. The biggest limitation for many people is not ability, it is belief. Not in some motivational sense necessarily, but in practical sense. If you decide something is impossible before trying, your chances drop immediately. If you never take the first step, it does not matter how much potential you have. Potential only matters when it is used. And that is why so many people end up surprising themselves. They finally take a chance, they finally try, they finally stick with something longer than usual, and they discover they were capable all along. The ability was there. The evidence just wasn't. At the end of the day, most people are carrying around an outdated picture of themselves. A picture based on all failures, all fears, all experiences. The problem is that people change. Skills change, confidence changes, knowledge changes. What can you do today is not necessarily what you could do last year. And what you can do next year is not limited to what you can do today. You probably have more room to grow than you think. You probably have more strength than you realize. You probably have more potential than your doubts would suggest. And the only way to find out where your limits are is to stop assuming where they are. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right."